Hi, welcome to my YouTube channel. Today we're going to be discussing multinational corporations or transnational corporations, as the case may be. I'm sure as a student of international relations, you must have come across actors in international relations, state actors or non-state actors, right? Multinational corporations are examples of non-state actors and they are critical players as far as international relations is concerned. In international economic relations, you cannot really isolate multinational corporations. These are key players as far as international trade is concerned. And so today we're going to look quickly what is multinational corporation, what are the characteristics of multinational corporations, what are the roles of multinational corporations. In other words, we're going to try to look at multinational corporation as agents of development and also agents of underdevelopment. There are contending perspectives. Some school of thought have argued that multinational corporations are agents of underdevelopment. Some school of thought have also argued that multinational corporations are agents of development. So we're going to take a look at this contending, perspective. And so, first of all, what is multinational corporation? Very simple. Remember, the other word for multinational corporation is transnational. Transnational meaning that this organization transcends national boundary. Multinational, the same thing, it means that this organization has its presence in different nations. Multinational. Right? So when we say multinational corporations, we are referring to giant business establishments. They are giant business establishments that have their headquarters in their home country and have branches in several other countries. So, in understanding multinational corporation, or for a business to be described as multinational corporation, it means the business must exist in its home country and exist in host countries, right? That's why we said that multinational corporations are giant business establishments that have their headquarters in their home country and have branches in several other countries. These several other countries is what we refer to as host countries or host nations, as the case may be. There are several examples of multinational corporations. For instance, we have Shell Petroleum. You have Shell Petroleum in Nigeria, but it's not a company that's owned by Nigeria or in Nigeria. You have NTN, Julius Berger, Texaco, Mobile, uh, name them numerous, business establishments with headquarters in their home country and branches in several other countries. Is it Coca-Cola you want to talk about? There's hardly any country in the world where you don't have Coca-Cola. That's a giant business establishment. That's a typical example of multinational corporation. And so you have multinational corporations in different sectors. In the oil and gas sector, you have multinational corporations. In telecommunication, you have multinational corporations. In agriculture, you have multinational corporations. Even in the health and educational sector, you have multinational corporations. And so there are different, characteristics or different examples of multinational corporations doing business in different sectors. But of course, there are some who do business in different sectors. Dangote, for instance, is a giant business establishment. We have Dangote in Nigeria, Dangote in Ghana, in Mali, in different parts of Africa. You have Dangote products. This is an example of a multinational corporation. Right. So, what are the characteristics? Very important. What are the characteristics of multinational corporation? One characteristic of multinational corporation is the fact that it is a business establishment designed for profit maximization. So don't get it twisted. Every multinational corporation is interested in maximizing profit. So profit maximization is one major characteristic of multinational corporation. Another major characteristics of multinational corporation is the fact that they have headquarters in home country and branches in host countries. Very important, right? If you like by location or something, they are located in different countries. So headquarters in one country, branches in different countries. That's another characteristic of multinational corporations. Another very important characteristic of multinational corporation is that decision is top bottom, right? Most time decisions are made, from the headquarters in the home country. Then these decisions trickle down into, other branches in different countries, right? So this is also another very important characteristic of multinational corporations. Then, of course, multinational corporations are indeed giant business establishment. So we have gotten four characteristics. Number one, we said it is about profit maximization. Number two, we said decision making is top bottom. Number three, we said multinational corporations have headquarters in a country and branches in some other countries. That's host home, locations, and so on and so forth. So these are some of the basic, characteristics of multinational corporation. Now, a very important conversation that has to do with multinational corporation is in relation to development or in relation to underdevelopment. I'm sure you understand that the international system is such that it is made up of different countries. You have countries in the northern hemisphere and countries in the southern hemisphere. And when we say northern hemisphere, we're referring to the developed, developed economies of the world. Southern hemisphere, we're referring to the developing or underdeveloped parts of the world. Africa, Latin America, and some part of Asia fall in within the southern hemisphere. What we call in international economic relation the north-south dichotomy or the politics of north-south dichotomy, a manifestation of class distinction within the global system in terms of development and underdevelopment. But what is more important is that regardless of whether a country is in the northern hemisphere or the southern hemisphere, international economic relation transcends different boundaries and all of that. Right. Having said that, in what ways are multinational corporations drivers of development? How does multinational corporation contribute in promoting development within the international system? Number one, multinational corporations are agents of employment. You cannot compare the number of people that have been employed in different multinational corporations. What are the staff? How many persons have Julius Berger employed? Not just in Nigeria, but in different parts of the world. How many persons have MTN employed? How many persons have ShopRite employed? How many persons have Texaco, Shell Petroleum? How many persons have they employed? And so all over the world, you cannot disconnect multinational corporations in terms of employment generation. And you know what the consequences of unemployment could be, especially in developing economies. So multinational corporations promote international development by increasing or serving as platform for employment. Multinational corporations promote foreign direct investment, right? Foreign direct investment, what we call FDI, foreign direct investment. Multinational corporations carry out corporate social responsibility. For instance, in some part of Nigeria, you see where multinational corporations are constructing roads in communities that they are domiciled. Sometimes they build hospitals, sometimes they build schools, sometimes they give scholarship to indigenes of those host communities. That's what we call corporate social responsibility. So multinational corporations contribute in economic development by promoting corporate social responsibility. Multinational corporations also pay tax, right? So they serve as a source of revenue generation for countries. They pay tax. And most countries rely on tax, as a major source of their revenue, right? So multinational corporations, number one, we said, are agents of development because they provide employment. Number two, we say they are a source of foreign direct investment. Number three, we said they provide employment. Number four, we said they also carry out corporate social responsibility. Number five, and very important, multinational corporations constitute a major driver of technology transfer. There are technologies that a particular country do not have. But courtesy of the activities of multinational corporations, these technologies are now available, right? So technology transfer is one major role of multinational corporations. For instance, in Nigeria, there are so many youth in Nigeria who are engaged in phone repairs, laptop repairs. Imagine that these laptops and phones didn't exist. Phones, laptops are products of multinational corporations. But courtesy of these, they have brought about technology that we now know the technology, we can now use the technology for our own good. So technology transfer is another major way through which multinational corporations contribute in promoting economic growth and development either within a state or within the international system. What is the next contending perspective? The other perspective is that multinational corporations are agents of underdevelopment. And the question is, how can multinational corporations be agents of development at the same time be agents of underdevelopment? So we have seen how they contribute in promoting development. Let's look at how they contribute in promoting underdevelopment. Some scholars have argued that multinational corporations evade tax, that they evade tax, they do under invoicing or over invoicing as the case may be. And so when the invoice is not correct, when the invoice is not true, when the invoice is forged, it becomes difficult for countries to generate as much tax as they need to generate from these companies. So tax evasion is a major strategy used by multinational corporations, and by implication they are promoting, underdevelopment. Multinational corporations contribute to environmental degradation. They contribute to climate change. The level of carbon monoxide released into the atmosphere by multinational corporations itself constitutes major threats to human security. The kind of pollution, water pollution, air pollution by multinational corporations contribute to underdevelopment. In the Niger Delta region of Nigeria, where you have oil spillage as a result of the activities of multinational corporations, it has rendered aquatic activities, it has killed aquatic lives, it has rendered people unemployed. For instance, majority of the people in the Niger Delta are fishermen. But because the water has been spilled, oil has spilled into the water, the fishes have died, they don't even have drinking water, they cannot engage in fishing. All of these are indices of underdevelopment because some of these multinationals will not adhere to best practices of oil exploration, hence oil spillage, hence environmental degradation. Right? Not to talk about the human security component of all of these activities. You will also recall that the conflict in the Niger Delta cannot be unconnected with the activities of multinational corporations. Sometimes multinational corporations are drivers of conflict. In Congo, for instance, DR Congo, you see the conflict and the volatility in Congo, you cannot isolate it to the activities of multinational corporations. The same thing with the Niger Delta region of Nigeria, the same thing in different parts of the world. Right? Multinational corporations are also involved in profit repatriation. There are profits that they make rather than plow it back and utilize it within the country where those resources are generated, they repatriate the profit. And so the host nation really does not benefit because the profit is repatriated back to home countries. No wonder home countries always ensure that they protect multinational corporations in their host communities or in their host countries so that they can maximize profit. Another way multinational corporations contribute to underdevelopment is the involvement of multinational corporations in politics of host countries. Right? For instance, in Chile, under Salvador Allende, it was alleged that Salvador Allende was assassinated by ITT, a US based multinational corporation, because, of course, Salvador was advancing socialist and communist principles. And of course, you know that in a communist system, there is no room for private ownership of the means and factors of production. And so the best they could do was to assassinate him. In fact, even in Nigeria, the death of the former military head of state of Nigeria, General Murtala Mohammed, was also alleged to be orchestrated by some multinational corporations. And so, to a very large extent, one can see this contending perspective, argument for multinational corporations as agents of development, and arguments also proving that multinational corporations are agents of underdevelopment. Right? So, what we have done today is to look at the definition of multinational corporations, the characteristics of multinational corporations. Then, of course, multinational corporations as agents of development and as agents of underdevelopment. But what that means principally is that multinational corporations are critical stakeholders as far as international economy relation is concerned. You cannot do without multinational corporations. So, don't forget to like this video and also subscribe to my YouTube channel if you have not.